Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back, way back, to a time of towering castles and valiant knights, of grand feasts and epic sieges, but we're not going to focus on the glittering chivalry or the romanticized battles. Instead, we're going to descend, deep beneath the stone walls, into a place that has fueled countless nightmares and whispered legends, the medieval dungeon. Imagine the cold, damp air, the oppressive darkness, the echoing drips of water, and the chilling realization that you are utterly, completely at the mercy of your captors, with no hope of escape. This isn't a fantasy game. It's a stark, unvarnished look at what it truly meant to be imprisoned in the depths of a medieval castle. And let's be real, if you were actually there, you probably wouldn't survive past Tuesday. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop a comment below and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. One moment, you are walking freely. Perhaps a rebellious noble caught in a political struggle, a captured enemy soldier, or even an unfortunate peasant accused of a crime you didn't commit. The sun is on your face. The sounds of birdsong or the bustling market fill your ears, and the world, for all its medieval hardships, feels like your own. The next moment, rough hands seize you. Your arms are twisted behind your back. A coarse rope chafes your wrists, and you are propelled forward, your feet stumbling on the uneven ground. The sounds of the castle, once perhaps a distant hum of activity, now become sharp and menacing. The clang of the portcullis as it grinds shut behind you, the heavy thud of the main gate closing, the echoing footsteps of your captors on the stone floors. Each sound is a nail hammered into the coffin of your freedom. You are pushed through narrow corridors, the air growing colder, damper, and heavier with each step. The light, which once streamed through arrow slits and arched windows, begins to fade, replaced by the flickering, uncertain glow of a torch carried by one of your guards. The castle, which from the outside seemed a symbol of power and protection, now reveals its true, terrifying purpose, a fortress designed not just to keep enemies out, but to hold prisoners in. You are led down, deeper and deeper, into its foundations. The air grows thick with the smell of damp earth, stale straw, and something else, something cloying and metallic that you instinctively recognize as fear, and perhaps old blood. This descent into the castle's depths was a common historical fact for medieval prisoners. True dungeons were often located in the deepest, most secure parts of the keep. The sounds change, too. The distant chatter of the castle above gives way to an eerie silence, broken only by the drip, drip, drip of water from unseen sources and the scuttling of unseen creatures. Your heart pounds a frantic rhythm against your ribs, a drumbeat of pure terror. You try to catch a glimpse of your surroundings, but the torchlight dances wildly, casting more shadows than illumination, making the rough-hewn stone walls seem to press in on you. You are pushed through a heavy wooden door, thick with iron bands and rusted bolts, which groans ominously on its hinges. The air inside is even colder, even damper, and the stench is overwhelming human waste, mold, decay, and something else, something that speaks of long-term suffering. The torchlight momentarily reveals a small, cramped space, perhaps no larger than a small storage closet. its walls weeping with moisture. There is no window, no light source beyond the brief flicker of the guard's torch. Then, with a sickening thud, the door slams shut behind you. The heavy bolts slide into place with a grating screech, echoing in the sudden, absolute darkness. The sound is deafening, final. You are alone, utterly, completely alone, in a darkness so profound it feels like a physical presence, pressing in on you from all sides. Your eyes strain, desperately trying to discern any shape, any outline, but there is nothing, only black. It's like trying to find your phone in a completely dark room, but the room is also a stone box, and your phone doesn't exist. The cold seeps into your bones, a pervasive chill that quickly overwhelms your thin clothing. The dampness clings to your skin, making you shiver uncontrollably. You reach out, your hands brushing against rough, cold stone, slick with moisture. The floor beneath your feet is uneven, perhaps dirt, perhaps rough-hewn rock, and you instinctively recoil from the unseen filth that you know must be there. The silence is oppressive, broken only by the rhythmic drip of water and the frantic pounding of your own heart. You try to call out, your voice hoarse with fear, but the sound is swallowed by the thick stone walls, echoing back at you, hollow and meaningless. You are cut off from the world, from light, from warmth, from human contact. This profound sensory deprivation is a common historical fact and a key element of medieval imprisonment, designed to break the prisoner's spirit. A little-known detail about medieval dungeons is that the term dungeon itself often referred to the main tower or keep of a castle, the donjon, rather than exclusively to underground cells. While castles certainly had prisons, the stereotypical deep, dark, underground dungeon was often a later romanticized invention, though some castles did have oubliettes or pit prisons. However, even above-ground cells were often dark, damp, and miserable. The stench is overwhelming, a cloying, nauseating mix of human waste, stale air, mold, and something else. The pervasive smell of despair and long-term confinement. You try to breathe shallowly, to avoid inhaling the foul air, but it's impossible. The smell clings to your clothes, your hair, your very skin, a constant reminder of your degradation. You are living in your own filth, and there is no escape. Time loses all meaning. Without light, without any external cues, days bleed into nights, hours into weeks. You might try to mark the passage of time by the delivery of your meager meals, but even that is irregular, unpredictable. Your internal clock begins to unravel, leaving you in a state of perpetual disorientation, a waking nightmare where every moment feels the same. The academic debate still rages about the precise psychological effects of long-term sensory deprivation and isolation on medieval prisoners, and how much it contributed to mental breakdown or resilience. The sounds of the castle above, if any penetrate your cell, are distant and muffled, like echoes from another world. You might hear the faint clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the distant shouts of guards, or the faint strains of music from a feast. These sounds, once mundane, now become tantalizing reminders of the life you have lost, a cruel torment that highlights your absolute isolation. The cold is relentless, seeping into your very bones. You shiver uncontrollably, your body racked with tremors. Your thin clothing offers little protection against the pervasive dampness that clings to the stone walls and permeates the air. You try to huddle into a ball, to conserve what little body heat you have, but it's a losing battle. The cold is a constant, gnawing presence, slowly draining your strength, making every movement an effort. You are utterly powerless, completely at the mercy of your captors. There is no escape, no hope of rescue, no one to hear your cries. Your fate is entirely in their hands, whether it is a slow death by starvation and exposure, a sudden execution, or a prolonged period of torture. This profound sense of helplessness is perhaps the most terrifying aspect of your imprisonment, stripping away your will to resist, leaving you with nothing but despair as the hours, or days, or weeks stretch into an agonizing eternity. Your mind begins to play tricks on you. You might see flickering lights in the darkness, hear phantom whispers, or imagine faces in the shadows. The line between reality and hallucination begins to blur as your brain, deprived of external stimulation, creates its own terrifying world. You cling to memories, to the faces of loved ones, to the sounds of your past life, desperate to maintain a connection to sanity. Your body begins to deteriorate. Your muscles waste away from lack of use and malnutrition. Your skin grows pale and clammy, covered in sores from the dampness and filth. Your hair becomes matted, your eyes sunken. You are slowly, inexorably, being consumed by the darkness, by the cold, by the despair. You are becoming a ghost, a shadow of your former self, a silent testament to the brutal reality of medieval imprisonment. And as the darkness presses in, and the cold seeps deeper into your bones, you understand, with chilling clarity, what medieval dungeons were really like. They were not just places of confinement, but instruments of psychological and physical torment, designed to break the human spirit. Your existence is a slow, agonizing descent into madness and oblivion, a silent scream buried deep within the cold, unforgiving stone. You've been thrust into the absolute darkness, the suffocating silence, and the chilling cold of the medieval dungeon. The heavy door has slammed shut, severing your last connection to the world above. Now, as your eyes strain against the impenetrable black, your other senses awaken, assaulted by a grim reality far more visceral than any nightmare. This is not just a place of confinement. It is a sensory prison, designed to break your spirit through the relentless onslaught of darkness, dampness, and a stench that will cling to your very soul. This profound sensory deprivation and assault was a common historical fact for medieval prisoners, a deliberate tactic to induce despair and compliance. The darkness is absolute, a thick, palpable presence that presses in on you from all sides. You reach out, your hands grasping at empty air, desperate for something to ground you. But there is nothing. Your eyes, accustomed to the faintest glimmer of light, strain and ache, trying to discern any shape, any outline, but it's futile. The blackness is so complete that it feels like a physical weight, suffocating you, stealing your breath. You might try to close your eyes, then open them again, hoping for a change, but the darkness remains unwavering, a cruel, mocking void. It's like being in the deepest, darkest cave imaginable, but you can't even tell if your eyes are open or closed, and there's no flashlight app to save you. The air itself is a torment. It's heavy, stagnant, thick with the pervasive stench of human waste, stale sweat, and decaying matter. The smell of mold clings to the stone walls, a cloying, earthy odor that mixes with the metallic tang of old blood and the indescribable scent of long-term despair. You try to breathe shallowly, to avoid inhaling the foulness, but it's impossible. The stench permeates your clothing, your hair, your very skin, a constant, nauseating reminder of your degradation. You are living in your own filth, and the filth of countless prisoners before you. And there is no escape from its pervasive embrace. The silence, once absolute, is now broken by the rhythmic drip, drip, drip of water from unseen sources, echoing eerily in the confined space. This sound, initially a minor annoyance, soon becomes a maddening torment, a constant reminder of the passage of time and the relentless dampness. You might try to count the drips, to find a rhythm, but it's impossible, for the sound is irregular, unpredictable, driving you slowly towards the edge of madness. And then there are the other sounds, the scuttling of unseen creatures, the faint scratching of claws on stone, the rustling of straw. You know, instinctively, that you are not alone. Rats, mice, and other vermin are your unwelcome cellmates, their presence adding another layer of disgust and fear to your confinement. A common historical fact is that medieval dungeons were rarely designed for long-term habitation. They were primarily holding cells for short periods before trial, execution, or ransom. However, the conditions within them, even for a few days, were horrific. And for those who were held for extended periods, the sensory assault was a deliberate part of their punishment. Your skin begins to react to the dampness and filth. Sores appear, small cuts fester, and the constant itching of unseen parasites drives you to distraction. Your hair becomes matted, your clothes stiff with grime and sweat. Your body, once your own, is now a vessel of discomfort and decay, its deterioration a chilling reflection of your environment. You try to scratch, to rub, to alleviate the torment, but it's futile. The itching, the sores, the pervasive filth, they are all part of your new reality. Time loses all meaning in this sensory void. Without light, without any external cues, days bleed into nights, hours into weeks. You might try to mark the passage of time by the delivery of your meager meals, but even that is irregular, unpredictable, adding to your disorientation. Your internal clock begins to unravel, leaving you in a state of perpetual confusion, a waking nightmare where every moment feels the same, yet endlessly stretches into an agonizing eternity. It's like being stuck in a never-ending time loop. But the loop is just endless darkness, and the smell of despair. The sounds of the castle above, if any penetrate your cell, are distant and muffled, like echoes from another world. You might hear the faint clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the distant shouts of guards, or the faint strains of music from a feast. These sounds, once mundane, now become tantalizing reminders of the life you have lost, a cruel torment that highlights your absolute isolation. They are echoes of a world you once inhabited, a world that now seems impossibly far away, separated by layers of stone and despair. A little-known detail about medieval prisons is that the term dungeon itself often referred to the main tower or keep of a castle, the donjon, rather than exclusively to underground cells. While castles certainly had prisons, the stereotypical deep, dark, underground dungeon was often a later romanticized invention. However, even above-ground cells were often dark, damp, and miserable, lacking windows or proper ventilation, and were still considered dungeons in the broader sense of the word. The psychological effects of this sensory deprivation are profound. Your mind, deprived of external stimulation, begins to play tricks on you. You might see flickering lights in the darkness, hear phantom whispers, or imagine faces in the shadows. The line between reality and hallucination begins to blur as your brain, desperate for input, creates its own terrifying world. You cling to memories, to the faces of loved ones, to the sounds of your past life, desperate to maintain a connection to sanity, to prevent your mind from unraveling completely. The academic debate still rages about the precise psychological effects of long-term sensory deprivation and isolation on medieval prisoners, and how much it contributed to mental breakdown or resilience. Some scholars argue that the human mind, when deprived of external stimuli, can generate its own vivid experiences, leading to hallucinations and a distorted perception of reality. The profound sense of helplessness is perhaps the most terrifying aspect of your imprisonment. There is no escape, no hope of rescue, no one to hear your cries. Your fate is entirely in the hands of your captors. Whether it is a slow death by starvation and exposure, a sudden execution, or a prolonged period of torture, this complete lack of control, this utter powerlessness, strips away your will to resist, leaving you with nothing but despair. You are a fly caught in a spider's web, utterly at the mercy of your unseen tormentors. Your body begins to deteriorate, visibly and rapidly. Your muscles waste away from lack of use and malnutrition. Your skin grows pale and clammy, covered in sores from the dampness and filth. Your hair becomes matted, your eyes sunken. You are slowly, inexorably, being consumed by the darkness, by the cold, by the despair. You are becoming a ghost, a shadow of your former self, a silent testament to the brutal reality of medieval imprisonment. Every day brings you closer to the inevitable end, a slow, agonizing descent into oblivion. The sounds of the vermin, the scuttling and gnawing, become a constant, horrifying backdrop to your existence. You know they are there, unseen, perhaps even crawling over your body as you sleep. The fear of rats, of their sharp teeth and their disease-carrying bodies, adds another layer of terror to your confinement. You try to scare them away, to make noise, but they are relentless, drawn by the filth and the promise of sustenance. And as the darkness presses in, and the coal seeps deeper into your bones, you understand, with chilling clarity, what medieval dungeons were really like. They were not just places of confinement, but instruments of psychological and physical torment, designed to break the human spirit. Your existence is a slow, agonizing descent into madness and oblivion, a silent scream buried deep within the cold, unforgiving stone. You've been overwhelmed by the sensory assault of the dungeon, the absolute darkness, the suffocating stench, the relentless cold, and the maddening drip of water. You've felt the insidious creep of despair as time loses all meaning and your body begins its slow deterioration. But now, as your captors decide your fate, you find yourself facing a new, even more profound form of torment, the pit. You are not merely in a cell. You are in an oubliette, a forgotten place, a hole in the earth designed for ultimate isolation, where the world above ceases to exist, and hope itself becomes a cruel, distant memory. This type of pit prison, often a bottle-shaped cell accessed only from above, was a common historical fact in some medieval castles, designed for maximum isolation and psychological torment. The heavy door, which had slammed shut behind you, now reopens with a groan, momentarily revealing the flickering torchlight. Your eyes, accustomed to the absolute darkness, recoil from the sudden, blinding glare. Rough hands seize you once more, and you are dragged forward, not along a corridor, but to an opening in the floor, a dark, gaping maw that seems to lead to an even deeper abyss. The air rising from it is colder, heavier, and carries an even more profound stench of decay and forgotten things. You resist instinctively, your body tensing, but your efforts are futile against the brute strength of your captors. You are pushed, or perhaps simply dropped, into the void. The fall is short but terrifying, ending with a sickening thud on a cold, damp, uneven surface. The air rushes out of your lungs, and for a moment you lie there, stunned, your body aching from the impact. Then, the light above you, the tiny circle of the opening, begins to shrink as a heavy stone slab is slowly, inexorably, slid into place, sealing you in. The grating sound of stone on stone echoes ominously, a final, chilling sound that marks your complete severance from the world. Now, the darkness is even more absolute than before. It's not just an absence of light. It's a living, breathing entity that presses in on you, suffocating you, stealing your breath. You are in a space so confined, so utterly devoid of any external stimulus, that your mind struggles to comprehend it. You reach out, your hands brushing against rough, damp stone walls that curve inward above you, creating a bottle-shaped enclosure. The floor is uneven, perhaps covered in a thin layer of putrid water, or the accumulated filth of previous occupants. It's like being buried alive in a stone coffin, but with the added bonus of knowing you're probably not going to die quickly. The silence is profound, a heavy, oppressive blanket that smothers every sound. The rhythmic drip of water, which once maddened you, is now barely audible, swallowed by the thick stone. You try to call out, your voice hoarse, but the sound is immediately absorbed, returning only as a hollow, meaningless echo. You are cut off from the world, from any human contact, from any hope of being heard. This profound isolation, this utter lack of external stimuli, is designed to break your spirit, to drive you to the very brink of madness. Time ceases to exist. Without light, without the faintest sound from the world above, without any external cues whatsoever, days bleed into nights, hours into weeks, weeks into an agonizing eternity. Your internal clock completely unravels, leaving you in a state of perpetual disorientation. You might try to mark the passage of time by the delivery of your meager rations, but even that is irregular, unpredictable, adding to your confusion. You exist in a timeless void, where every moment feels the same, yet endlessly stretches into an unbearable duration. It's like being stuck in a never-ending loading screen for a video game. But the game is your own slow descent into oblivion, and there's no escape button. The cold is even more intense here, a pervasive, bone-chilling dampness that seeps into your very core. The air is stagnant, heavy with the stench of decay, mold, and your own accumulating waste. You shiver uncontrollably, your body racked with tremors, your thin clothing offering no protection against the pervasive chill. You huddle into a ball, desperate to conserve what little body heat you have. But it's a losing battle. The cold is a constant, gnawing presence, slowly draining your strength, making every breath an effort, every movement a struggle. A common historical fact is that the term oubliette comes from the French word oublier, meaning to forget. These pit prisons were literally designed for prisoners to be forgotten, cut off from the world, their existence erased from memory. While not every castle had such a specialized pit, the concept of isolating prisoners completely was a key aspect of medieval incarceration. Your body begins to deteriorate rapidly in this extreme environment. Your muscles waste away from lack of use and malnutrition. Your skin grows pale and clammy, covered in sores from the dampness and filth. Your hair becomes matted, your eyes sunken. You are slowly, inexorably, being consumed by the darkness, by the cold, by the despair. You are becoming a ghost, a shadow of your former self, a silent testament to the brutal reality of medieval imprisonment. Every day brings you closer to the inevitable end, a slow, agonizing descent into oblivion. The psychological effects of this extreme isolation and sensory deprivation are profound and terrifying. Your mind, starved of external stimulation, begins to play tricks on you. You might see vivid hallucinations, flickering lights, grotesque figures dancing in the darkness, or the faces of loved ones, distorted and mocking. You hear phantom whispers, disembodied voices that seem to come from nowhere, speaking in languages you don't understand, or repeating your deepest fears. The line between reality and hallucination blurs, then vanishes, as your brain, desperate for input, creates its own terrifying world. You cling to memories, to the sounds of your past life, desperate to maintain a connection to sanity, to prevent your mind from unraveling completely. A little-known detail about the design of some oubliettes is that they were sometimes so narrow at the bottom that prisoners could not lie down comfortably, forcing them to remain in a cramped, standing, or semi-crouched position for extended periods. This added another layer of physical torment to the already extreme psychological suffering, accelerating the prisoner's physical and mental breakdown. The academic debate still rages about the precise prevalence and long-term use of oubliettes. While they exist in some castle ruins and are mentioned in certain historical accounts, scholars debate whether they were common, long-term prisons, or more often used for temporary confinement or for particularly dangerous prisoners. However, there is no doubt that for those who experienced them, the conditions were utterly horrific. The profound sense of helplessness is perhaps the most terrifying aspect of your imprisonment. There is no escape, no hope of rescue, no one to hear your cries. Your fate is entirely in the hands of your captors, and they have literally forgotten you. This complete lack of control, this utter powerlessness, strips away your will to resist, leaving you with nothing but despair. You are a fly caught in a bottle, utterly at the mercy of your unseen tormentors. With no way out, the vermin, if any, can survive in such a desolate space, become your only companions. The scuttling of unseen creatures, the faint scratching of claws on stone, the rustling of straw. You know they are there, unseen, perhaps even crawling over your body as you sleep. The fear of rats, of their sharp teeth and their disease-carrying bodies, adds another layer of terror to your confinement. You try to scare them away, to make noise, but they are relentless, drawn by the filth and the promise of sustenance. As days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, your body and mind continue their slow, agonizing descent. Your voice, once capable of shouts and pleas, becomes a hoarse whisper, then fades entirely. Your movements become sluggish, your thoughts fragmented. you are no longer a person, but a living corpse, a testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment. The hope that once flickered within you has been extinguished, replaced by a profound, all-consuming despair. And as the darkness presses in, and the coal seeps deeper into your bones, you understand, with chilling clarity, what medieval dungeons were really like, especially the pit. They were not just places of confinement, but instruments of ultimate psychological and physical torment, designed to break the human spirit and erase existence. Your life is a slow, agonizing descent into madness and oblivion, a silent scream buried deep within the cold, unforgiving stone, a forgotten soul in a forgotten place. You've been dropped into the pit, the oubliette, a place designed for ultimate isolation, where darkness and silence are your only companions. Your body aches from the fall. Your mind reels from the sensory deprivation, and the cold, damp stone is a constant, chilling embrace. But as the initial shock wears off, a more primal, more insistent torment begins to assert itself, hunger and thirst. In the medieval dungeon, food and water are not just sustenance. They are instruments of control, doled out sparingly, often contaminated, and always a stark reminder of your utter dependence on your captors. This deliberate deprivation of adequate food and water was a common historical fact in medieval prisons, designed to weaken prisoners physically and mentally, making them more compliant. You lie in the darkness, your stomach a hollow, gnawing ache. The last meal you remember, if you can even recall it, seems like a lifetime ago. Your throat is parched, a burning sensation that makes every breath an effort. You try to swallow, but your mouth is dry, your tongue thick. The thought of water, cool and clean, becomes an obsession, a tantalizing mirage in the oppressive blackness. You might try to lick the damp stone walls, desperate for a drop of moisture, but the taste is foul, metallic, and offers no relief. It's like being on the world's most extreme diet, but the only food available is mold, and the only drink is despair. After what feels like an eternity, a faint, scraping sound breaks the profound silence above you. Your heart leaps with a desperate, animalistic hope. A small, heavy door, or perhaps a wooden hatch, creaks open, and a sliver of dim light, often from a distant torch, briefly illuminates the opening far above. A rough hand appears. Then a bucket or a small sack is lowered on a rope, scraping against the stone as it descends. This irregular and minimal provision of food and water was a common historical fact, designed to keep prisoners alive but barely, ensuring their continued suffering. The bucket lands with a dull thud on the floor of your pit. You scramble towards it, your weakened limbs protesting, your hands trembling with anticipation. You reach inside, your fingers brushing against something hard and unyielding, a piece of stale, moldy bread, or perhaps a handful of coarse, uncooked grain. There might be a small amount of murky, lukewarm water in a cup, or simply a damp cloth. The quantity is minuscule, barely enough to sustain a child, let alone a grown adult. You devour the meager rations, tearing at the bread with your teeth, or scooping the water into your mouth with cupped hands. The taste is bland, often foul, but you consume it with desperate urgency. Your body screaming for nourishment. Every crumb, every drop is precious, savored. For the brief moment it offers a fleeting sense of relief. But the hunger and thirst return almost immediately, a constant, gnawing presence that never truly leaves you. the quality of the food is appalling. It is often stale, riddled with mold, or infested with vermin. The water, if it is water at all, is murky, stagnant, and often contaminated. You know, instinctively, that consuming it carries risks, but the alternative is starvation. You are forced to choose between immediate hunger and the insidious threat of illness. This deliberate provision of poor quality, contaminated food was a little-known detail, often leading to rampant disease among prisoners, effectively acting as a slow form of torture or execution. The academic debate still rages about the precise nutritional content of medieval prison rations and how much they varied depending on the prisoner's status, the castle's resources, and the jailer's cruelty. While some scholars argue that rations were often just enough to prevent immediate death, others suggest that deliberate starvation and malnutrition were common, leading to rapid physical deterioration as days bleed into weeks and weeks into months. The chronic malnutrition takes its toll. Your body, already weakened by the cold and damp, begins to waste away. Your muscles atrophy. Your skin grows pale and clammy, stretched taut over your protruding bones. Your hair becomes brittle, your teeth ache, and your vision blurs from lack of essential nutrients. You are constantly fatigued, your movements sluggish, your thoughts fragmented. You are slowly, inexorably, being consumed from within. The lack of clean water leads to constant dehydration, which exacerbates your physical decline. Your lips crack, your tongue swells, and your skin becomes dry and flaky. Your kidneys ache, and your body struggles to function without proper hydration. The thirst is a torment that rivals the hunger, a burning sensation that never truly goes away, even after a meager sip of foul water. Disease becomes your constant companion. The contaminated food and water introduce parasites and bacteria into your system, leading to chronic dysentery, stomach cramps, and debilitating diarrhea. Your body, already weakened, is unable to fight off these infections, and you are plunged into cycles of fever, chills, and profound weakness. The lack of sanitation in your pit, where you are forced to relieve yourself, further exacerbates the spread of illness, turning your cell into a breeding ground for pathogens. It's like living in a perpetually overflowing porta-potty. But you also have to eat the contents, and there's no hand sanitizer. The vermin, your only companions, also contribute to the spread of disease. Rats, mice, and insects, drawn by the filth and the meager food scraps, crawl over your body as you sleep, their bites leaving itchy, infected sores. Lice and fleas infest your hair and clothing, their constant biting adding to your torment, driving you to distraction. You are living in a cesspool of disease, and there is no escape. The psychological impact of chronic hunger and thirst is profound. Your mind becomes obsessed with food and water, your thoughts consumed by the primal need for sustenance. You might hallucinate feasts, vivid images of delicious food and cool, clear water, only to be brought back to the grim reality of your empty stomach and parched throat. This constant torment erodes your sanity, making you irritable, disoriented, and increasingly desperate. The academic debate still rages about the specific types of diseases prevalent in medieval dungeons and their mortality rates. While historical accounts often mention prison fever, scholars are using archaeological evidence and modern medical knowledge to identify specific pathogens and understand the complex interplay of malnutrition, poor sanitation, and overcrowding in contributing to the high death tolls among prisoners. Your captors, the jailers and guards, control your very survival. They are the arbiters of your hunger and thirst, the ones who decide when and what you eat. Their power over you is absolute, and they use it to break your spirit, to extract confessions, or simply to inflict suffering. You learn to dread the sound of their footsteps approaching, for it means either a brief, unsatisfying meal, or perhaps no meal at all. It's like having a really mean waiter who decides if you get to eat, and also if you live. The irregularity of the meals adds another layer of torment. You never know when the next ration will come, keeping you in a constant state of anxious anticipation. Days might pass without any food or water, pushing your body to the brink of collapse, only for a meager portion to arrive, just enough to keep you alive, but never enough to truly satisfy. This psychological game of deprivation and minimal relief is designed to break your will, your body. Once a source of strength, becomes a source of constant pain and weakness. Every movement is an effort, every breath a struggle. You are slowly, agonizingly, wasting away, your life force draining from you with each passing day. The hope that once flickered within you, fueled by the dream of freedom, is slowly extinguished by the relentless gnawing of hunger and the burning torment of thirst. And as the darkness presses in and the cold seeps deeper into your bones, you understand, with chilling clarity, what medieval dungeons were really like, especially when it came to food and water. They were not just places of confinement, but instruments of slow, agonizing torture, designed to consume your body and your mind through the relentless deprivation of life's most basic necessities. Your existence is a testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment, a silent scream buried deep within the cold, unforgiving stone, slowly fading into oblivion. You've been consumed by the relentless torment of hunger and thirst, your body wasting away in the absolute darkness and suffocating dampness of the pit. You've felt your mind fraying at the edges, battling hallucinations and the pervasive despair of isolation. But now, as if your suffering wasn't complete, your captors introduce a new, more intimate form of torment chains and restraints. Your body, already weakened and aching, is now bound, twisted, and contorted into unnatural positions, ensuring that every movement, every breath, is a fresh agony, a constant physical reminder of your utter captivity. This deliberate use of various restraints to inflict pain and limit movement was a common historical fact in medieval prisons, designed to break the prisoner's will and prevent escape. After what feels like an eternity of silence, the heavy stone slab above you grinds open again, and a sliver of dim, flickering torchlight pierces the darkness. You flinch, your eyes aching from the sudden glare. Rough hands descend, not with food this time, but with cold, heavy iron. The clanking sound of metal on stone echoes ominously in the confined space, a chilling prelude to your new reality. You instinctively recoil, your weakened body tensing, but your efforts are futile against the brute strength of your captors. The chains are thick, heavy, and cold against your skin. They are wrapped around your wrists, your ankles, perhaps even your neck, biting into your flesh with a brutal grip. The metal is rough, unpolished, and quickly begins to chafe and abrade your skin. You hear the rhythmic clang of a hammer, the sharp strike of metal on metal, as your captors secure the chains to rings embedded in the damp stone walls or to heavy iron weights. Each strike reverberates through your bones, a chilling symphony of your impending torment. It's like being fitted for the world's most uncomfortable, inescapable, and painfully fashionable jewelry. But the only thing it accessorizes is your misery. Once the chains are secured, you realize the true horror of your new predicament. You are not merely bound, you are positioned. Your wrists might be pulled high above your head, forcing you to stand on tiptoes, your arms stretched agonizingly, your shoulders screaming in protest. Or perhaps your legs are splayed, pulled taut by separate chains, forcing your body into an unnatural, excruciating split. You might be forced to sit, but with your legs extended and chained to the floor, preventing you from shifting your weight or finding any comfortable position. The goal is not just to prevent escape, but to inflict constant, pervasive pain, to ensure that rest is impossible. The weight of the chains themselves is immense, dragging at your limbs, pulling at your joints. Every movement, however slight, sends a jolt of pain through your body. The metal bites into your flesh, creating raw, open sores that quickly become inflamed and infected in the damp, filthy environment. You try to shift, to alleviate the pressure, but the chains are unyielding, mocking your efforts, the constant chafing, the biting cold of the iron, and the relentless strain on your muscles become your new reality. A common historical fact is that medieval chains and shackles were rarely designed for comfort or even minimal mobility. They were crude, heavy, and often ill-fitting, leading to severe chafing, deep wounds, and even nerve damage. The intent was to inflict pain and ensure immobility, not just to prevent escape, sleep, which was already a fleeting luxury, now becomes an agonizing impossibility. You might drift into a brief, restless doze, only to be jolted awake by the sharp pain of the chains digging deeper into your flesh, or the sudden cramp in a muscle contorted for hours. Your body screams for rest, but the chains deny it, keeping you in a perpetual state of discomfort and exhaustion. The line between waking torment and nightmare blurs, as your dreams are filled with the clanking of chains and the phantom pains of your bound limbs. The lack of movement leads to rapid physical deterioration. Your muscles, already atrophied from malnutrition, waste away even further. Your joints stiffen, becoming locked in painful positions. Your skin, constantly pressed against cold, damp stone or rough iron, develops bed sores that fester and deepen, inviting infection. Your body, once capable of movement and action, becomes a rigid, aching monument to your captivity, slowly succumbing to the relentless pressure. A little-known detail about medieval restraints is the use of specialized devices like the manacles, handcuffs, and shackles, leg irons, but also more elaborate and crueler forms like stocks that held the head and limbs, or iron collars that could be weighted or spiked. These were not just for security, but were often designed to inflict public humiliation and prolonged physical discomfort, even if not directly leading to death. The academic debate still rages about the precise types and prevalence of torture devices used in medieval dungeons, while some scholars argue that the more elaborate and gruesome devices are largely products of later imagination or isolated instances. Others point to contemporary accounts and archaeological finds that suggest a grim reality of diverse and often cruel methods of physical restraint and torment. The psychological impact of being constantly bound is profound. You feel utterly helpless, your autonomy completely stripped away. The chains are not just physical restraints. They are a constant, visible symbol of your powerlessness, your degradation. You are reduced to an object, a thing to be controlled. Your will slowly crushed by the relentless physical torment. The knowledge that you cannot move, cannot escape, cannot even stretch your aching limbs breeds a deep, pervasive despair. The pain becomes your new reality, a constant companion that never leaves you. It is a dull, throbbing ache in your joints, a sharp, searing pain where the metal bites into your flesh, a burning sensation in your strained muscles. You try to focus on other things, to retreat into your mind, but the pain is too insistent, too pervasive. It consumes your thoughts, making it impossible to find any solace, any moment of peace. It's like having a constant, full-body Charlie horse that never goes away. And every time you try to stretch, it gets worse. The lack of hygiene, already a torment, is exacerbated by your restraints. You are forced to relieve yourself where you are. Your waste accumulating around you, adding to the stench and the filth. You cannot clean yourself, cannot move away from your own waste. The sores on your body fester, attracting vermin, and the risk of infection, already high, skyrockets. You are living in a cesspool of your own making, unable to escape its putrid embrace. The vermin, your only companions, become even more of a torment. Rats and mice, drawn by the filth and your immobility, might crawl over your chained limbs, their tiny claws and cold bodies a horrifying sensation in the darkness. Lice and fleas, already infesting your hair and clothing, now have free rein over your bound body, their constant biting driving you to distraction. But you cannot even scratch effectively. The sounds of the chains, the clanking and scraping, become a maddening rhythm in the silence of your pit. Every slight movement, every desperate attempt to shift, produces a metallic groan that echoes in the confined space, a constant reminder of your bondage. You might try to ignore it, to block it out, but the sound is relentless, a chilling soundtrack to your slow descent into madness. Your captors, the jailers, might occasionally check on you, their torchlight briefly illuminating your suffering. They might offer a few words, a mocking comment, or simply stare with cold indifference. Their presence is a reminder that your torment is deliberate, a calculated act of cruelty designed to break you. You might try to plead, to beg for mercy, but your voice is hoarse, your words meaningless against their hardened resolve. The hope that once flickered within you, fueled by the dream of freedom, is slowly extinguished by the relentless physical torment. Your spirit, once defiant, begins to crack under the constant onslaught of pain and degradation. You are becoming a broken thing, a shadow of your former self, a silent testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment. And as the darkness presses in, and the cold seeps deeper into your bones, you understand, with chilling clarity, what medieval dungeons were really like, especially when your body was bound by chains and restraints. They were not just places of confinement, but instruments of slow, agonizing torture, designed to consume your body and your mind through the relentless infliction of pain and the complete stripping away of your autonomy. Your existence is a testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment, a silent scream buried deep within the cold, unforgiving stone, slowly fading into oblivion. You've endured the relentless physical torment of chains and restraints, your body a rigid monument to your captivity, every breath a fresh agony. Your mind, already fraying from the darkness and isolation, is now a battleground of pain and despair. But as if your suffering wasn't complete, a new, chilling chapter of your imprisonment begins interrogation. You are not merely to be held, you are to be questioned, to confess, to reveal secrets, and your captors will use every means at their disposal to extract the truth, or what they perceive as the truth, from your broken body and mind. This systematic use of interrogation, often involving torture, was a common historical fact in medieval prisons, particularly for political prisoners or those accused of serious crimes, where confession was often seen as the primary form of evidence. After what feels like an eternity of agonizing stillness, the heavy stone slab above you grinds open once more. This time, the light that descends is not a brief, indifferent flicker, but a more sustained, albeit still dim, glow from multiple torches. The sudden illumination is blinding, searing your eyes, making you flinch and cry out. Rough hands descend, unfastening some of your chains, but not all. You are pulled, dragged, or perhaps even carried from the suffocating confines of the pit into a space that, while still dark and damp, feels vast by comparison. The profound sense of helplessness is perhaps the most terrifying aspect of your imprisonment. You are utterly powerless, completely at the mercy of your captors. There is no escape, no hope of rescue, no one to hear your cries. Your fate is entirely in their hands, and they are systematically dismantling your mind. This complete lack of control, this utter powerlessness, strips away your will to resist, leaving you with nothing but despair. You are a puppet, and your strings are being pulled by unseen tormentors, twisting your thoughts, distorting your reality. Then comes the itching, a pervasive, maddening torment that drives you to distraction. Your skin crawls, your scalp tingles, and you know, instinctively, that you are infested. Lice, fleas, and other parasites, thriving in the unhygienic conditions, have made your body their new home. They bite, they crawl, they burrow, their constant activity adding another layer of misery to your existence. You try to scratch, to rub, to alleviate the torment, but your hands are often chained, or too weak, and the relief is fleeting at best. The itching is relentless, a constant, irritating reminder of your degradation and the unseen enemies that feast upon you. The academic debate still rages about the precise long-term psychological effects of sensory deprivation and isolation on medieval prisoners. While historical accounts often focus on physical suffering, modern psychology highlights the profound impact on mental health, including hallucinations, paranoia, severe anxiety, and a breakdown of cognitive functions. Scholars continue to analyze these historical accounts through a modern psychological lens to understand the full extent of this torment. If your answers are deemed unsatisfactory, or if you refuse to speak, the interrogation escalates. The implements you glimpsed in the shadows now come into terrifying focus. Perhaps it is the rack, a simple but horrifying device that stretches your limbs, slowly dislocating your joints, or the strappado, where you are hung by your wrists, your arms pulled behind your back, your shoulders tearing from their sockets. The pain is unimaginable, a searing, all-consuming agony that floods your senses, making it impossible to think, to resist, to do anything but scream. You try to cling to your memories, to the faces of loved ones, to the sounds of your past life, desperate to maintain a connection to sanity. You recite prayers, sing songs, or try to reconstruct conversations, anything to keep your mind active, to prevent it from unraveling completely. But the darkness and silence are relentless, slowly eroding your grip on reality, blurring the edges of your memories until they too become distorted and unreliable. A common historical fact is that medieval prisons, including dungeons, were rarely cleaned or maintained. Waste accumulated, leading to rampant infestations of vermin and a constant breeding ground for disease. Prisoners were often left in their own filth, exacerbating their suffering and accelerating their physical decline. The fear of madness is a chilling presence. You witness other prisoners, if you are lucky enough to glimpse them, who have succumbed to the torment, their screams echoing through the corridors, their vacant eyes reflecting the profound despair that awaits you. You fight against it, desperately, but the forces arrayed against your sanity are overwhelming. You are trapped in a battle you cannot win, a slow, agonizing descent into oblivion. You might try to resist, to cling to your truth, to the knowledge of your innocence, or to the loyalty you owe your Lord, but the pain is a relentless hammer, slowly chipping away at your resolve. Your will, once strong, begins to crumble under the constant onslaught. You find yourself bargaining, not for freedom, but for a moment of respite, for a brief cessation of the agony. A little-known detail about medieval prison design is that some cells were deliberately constructed to be too small for a prisoner to stand upright or lie down comfortably, forcing them into perpetual, agonizing positions. While this was primarily physical torment, it also contributed significantly to psychological breakdown, as the body's discomfort amplified the mind's distress, making escape from torment impossible. The lack of sanitation is a profound torment. You are forced to relieve yourself where you are, your waste accumulating around you, adding to the stench and the filth. There is no water for washing, no way to clean your body or your clothing. Your skin, constantly damp and covered in grime, develops bed sores that fester and deepen, inviting infection. The air you breathe is thick with pathogens, and every breath is a risk. You are living in a cesspool of your own making, and there is no escape from its putrid embrace. The sounds of your own body, the frantic pounding of your heart, the rasp of your breath, the gurgling of your stomach, become magnified in the silence, turning inward, becoming part of the psychological torment. Your own internal processes become a source of anxiety, a constant reminder of your physical and mental deterioration. You are trapped not just in a dungeon, but within your own failing body and mind. You are roughly positioned, perhaps chained to a heavy wooden chair, or stretched out on a cold stone slab. Your body, already a mass of aches and sores from the chains, protests with every movement. The pain is immense, but you try to steel yourself to prepare for what is to come. Your interrogators, often stern-faced men in dark robes or practical tunics, stand before you. They are not the indifferent jailers. They are men with a purpose, their eyes cold and calculating, their voices devoid of warmth. The hope that once flickered within you, fueled by the dream of freedom or the possibility of rescue, is slowly extinguished by the relentless psychological onslaught. Your spirit, once defiant, begins to crack under the constant torment. You are becoming a broken thing, a shadow of your former self, a silent testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment. Disease, the silent killer, begins its slow, agonizing work. The contaminated food and water, the constant exposure to filth, the weakened state of your body, all conspire against you. You are plunged into cycles of fever and chills, your body racked with tremors, your mind drifting in and out of delirium. Dysentery, caused by the contaminated water and food, becomes a constant companion, its debilitating grip leaving you weak, dehydrated, and in constant pain. Your stomach cramps, your bowels churn, and you are consumed by incessant vomiting and diarrhea, your body wasting away with terrifying speed. And as the darkness presses in and the cold seeps deeper into your bones, you understand, with chilling clarity, what medieval dungeons were really like, especially when your own mind became your tormentor. They were not just places of confinement, but instruments of systematic psychological warfare designed to consume your sanity, to break your will, and to turn your own thoughts against you. Your existence is a testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment, a silent scream buried deep within the cold, unforgiving stone, slowly fading into oblivion. The sounds of your own screams, echoing in the chamber, are horrifying. They are not just sounds. They are a visceral manifestation of your complete loss of control, your utter degradation. You are reduced to an animal, your dignity stripped away, your humanity eroded by the relentless infliction of pain, the shame, the humiliation, the profound sense of powerlessness. These are scars that will never truly heal. Even if you survive, you've battled the insidious psychological warfare. Your mind, a fragile landscape of hallucinations and distorted realities, pushed to the brink by the relentless darkness and silence. You've endured the physical decay, the constant pain, and the gnawing fear of madness. But even in this profound isolation, a faint glimmer of connection, a fleeting moment of shared humanity, sometimes pierces the oppressive gloom. You are not entirely alone, for in the depths of this medieval dungeon, you are surrounded by other captives, their suffering a grim mirror of your own, their presence a testament to the shared misery of imprisonment. This occasional, often fleeting, interaction with fellow prisoners was a common historical fact, providing both solace and additional torment. A little-known detail about medieval prison diseases is the prevalence of jail fever, which was often a catch-all term for various typhus-like fevers spread by lice and fleas. These diseases thrived in the overcrowded, unhygienic conditions of prisons, leading to rapid outbreaks and high mortality rates, often claiming the lives of prisoners, guards, and even jailers. After what feels like an eternity of solitary torment, a new sound, faint but distinct, penetrates the heavy silence. It's not the maddening drip of water, nor the scuttling of vermin, but a human sound, a low moan, a choked sob, or perhaps a faint, rasping cough. Your heart leaps, a desperate, animalistic response to the sound of another living soul. You strain to listen, trying to pinpoint the source, to understand, to connect. You realize, with a chilling clarity, that you are not the only one suffering in these cold, unforgiving stones. It's like being lost in a vast, dark forest, and suddenly hearing another human voice, but you can't tell if it's a friend or just another lost soul. Your body becomes a canvas for torment. Muscles tear, bones crack, and tendons snap under the relentless pressure. You feel your limbs being pulled from their sockets, a sickening pop that echoes in the chamber. The pain is so intense that your mind struggles to process it, retreating into a desperate haze. You might faint, offering a brief, blessed respite, only to be revived with a splash of cold water or a sharp slap. And the torment begins anew. You might be in a cell adjacent to another, separated by a thick stone wall, but close enough for sounds to carry. Or perhaps your pit opens into a larger common area where other prisoners are held, though you cannot see them. The darkness, which had been your tormentor, now becomes a veil, concealing the faces of your fellow sufferers, making their sounds even more haunting. You try to call out, your voice hoarse from disuse, a desperate attempt to bridge the chasm of isolation. Sometimes, a faint response echoes back, a whispered word, a shared groan, a brief, fragile connection in the vast emptiness. Your body, already a broken thing from torture and deprivation, offers little resistance. Your immune system, weakened by malnutrition and stress, is unable to fight off the onslaught of bacteria and viruses. A simple cold can turn into a deadly pneumonia. A minor cut can become a life-threatening infection. Your organs begin to fail. Your breathing becomes shallow, and your heart struggles to maintain its rhythm. You are slowly, inexorably, being consumed from within, your life force draining from you with each passing day. The sounds of their suffering become intertwined with your own. You hear their coughs, their whimpers of pain, their restless turning in the darkness. You hear the clanking of their chains, the scraping of their bodies against the stone, the soft thud of their meager rations being delivered. Each sound is a grim reminder of their presence, a mirror of your own agony. You might try to discern their condition from their sounds. Are they strong? Or are they weakening? Are they still defiant? Or have they succumbed to despair? This grim auditory connection was a little-known detail of medieval imprisonment, where the sounds of suffering from adjacent cells could add to the psychological torment of other prisoners. Sometimes, the torture is administered in front of other prisoners, a grim warning, a chilling spectacle designed to break their will even before their own interrogation begins. You might hear their whimpers, their gasps, their terrified silence, knowing that your suffering is a lesson for them, a testament to the futility of resistance. Sometimes, if the jailers are careless, or if the cells are close enough, you might catch a fleeting glimpse of another prisoner. A brief flicker of torchlight revealing a gaunt face, sunken eyes, a body twisted by chains. The sight is horrifying, a stark reflection of your own deteriorating state. But it is also a powerful reminder that you are not alone in your torment. You see their despair, their resilience, their humanity, and for a brief moment, you feel a connection, a shared understanding that transcends words. The academic debate still rages about the precise mortality rates in medieval dungeons and the specific diseases that were most prevalent. While historical accounts often speak of high death tolls, scholars are using archaeological evidence, such as skeletal remains from prison sites and modern epidemiological knowledge, to reconstruct the grim reality of health and disease in these confined, unsanitary environments. The academic debate still rages about the extent to which medieval prisoners were able to communicate with each other, and how much these interactions impacted their mental and physical well-being. while some scholars argue that communication was severely limited and often punished. Others point to evidence of prisoners developing complex systems of coded messages or using shared spaces to offer mutual support and maintain their sanity. You try to answer, to explain, to deny, but your words are often dismissed, twisted, or met with derision. They are not interested in your truth, only in their truth, the one that fits their narrative, that serves their purpose. They have already decided your guilt, and your confession is merely a formality, a means to an end. This relentless psychological pressure, combined with physical torment, was designed to break the prisoner's will and extract a confession, regardless of its veracity. You might try to communicate, to whisper across the stone, to tap out messages on the wall using a simple code. You might share information news from the outside world, rumors about your captors, or simply words of comfort and encouragement. These clandestine communications are dangerous, for if discovered, they can lead to brutal punishment. But the desperate need for human connection, for a shared sense of reality, often outweighs the risks. It's like trying to text your friends during a silent exam, but if you get caught, you get a literal lashing. The psychological impact of this constant battle against unseen enemies is immense. You live in a state of perpetual disgust, your senses assaulted by the filth and the stench, the fear of disease, of the rats, of the crawling insects, adds another layer of terror to your confinement. You are constantly aware of your own body's deterioration, of the slow, agonizing process of decay. This relentless torment erodes your sanity, making you irritable, disoriented, and increasingly desperate. The stories you hear, or piece together from whispered fragments, reveal the diverse fates of your fellow prisoners. Some are political enemies, nobles caught in power struggles, their lives hanging on the whim of a king or a powerful lord. Others are captured soldiers, awaiting ransom or execution. Still others are common criminals, accused of theft or violence, their fates sealed by a harsh justice system. Each story is a grim testament to the arbitrary nature of medieval imprisonment, a reminder that anyone, at any time, could find themselves in your position. The interrogators might offer false hope, promising leniency, a lighter sentence, or even freedom if you confess. These promises are often empty, a cruel deception designed to extract the desired information. You cling to them desperately, even as a part of your mind knows they are lies. The desire for an end to the pain, for a glimmer of light in the darkness, can make you believe anything. The shared misery can breed a strange camaraderie. You are all victims of the same brutal system, stripped of your freedom, your dignity, your humanity. In this shared suffering, a bond forms, a silent understanding that transcends social status or past allegiances. You might offer a whispered word of comfort, a shared piece of your meager ration, or simply a moment of silent solidarity. These small acts of kindness are precious, a lifeline in an otherwise desolate existence, a testament to the enduring human spirit even in the face of ultimate degradation. Sleep, which was already a fleeting luxury, now becomes an agonizing struggle. You are constantly disturbed by the itching of parasites, the scuttling of rats, the gnawing pain of your infections, and the relentless demands of your ailing body. Your dreams, if they come at all, are often nightmares of crawling insects and suffocating filth, offering no true escape from your waking torment. A little-known detail about medieval prison culture is the existence of prison graffiti. Prisoners, often using charcoal or sharpened stones, would carve or draw on the walls of their cells, leaving behind names, dates, prayers, or even crude images. These markings, often found in excavated dungeons, offer a poignant glimpse into the minds of those confined, a desperate attempt to leave a mark, to assert their existence, and to communicate with future occupants. A little-known detail about medieval torture is that it was often administered by professional torturers who were highly skilled in inflicting pain without immediately causing death. Their goal was to extract information or a confession, and they understood the limits of the human body, pushing prisoners to the brink of collapse, but rarely beyond, until their purpose was served. However, shared misery can also breed resentment and betrayal. The constant hunger, the pervasive fear, the psychological torment, these can push individuals to their breaking point. A desperate prisoner might inform on another to gain a small favor from the jailers, a slightly larger ration, or a temporary reprieve from torture. Trust is a dangerous luxury, and betrayal, though painful, is always a possibility in this brutal environment. It's like being stuck in a reality show with a bunch of strangers, but the prize is survival, and everyone is willing to backstab each other to get it. Your captors, the jailers, rarely intervene. They might occasionally throw in a new handful of straw or empty a bucket of waste. But true sanitation is non-existent. They are often hardened to the suffering of their prisoners, seeing them as little more than vermin themselves. Their indifference is a chilling reminder of your utter powerlessness, your complete abandonment. The sounds of other prisoners, their groans, their screams, their desperate pleas, can also be a source of profound torment. You hear their suffering, knowing that you are powerless to help, and that their fate could soon be your own. Their cries echo in the darkness, a chilling symphony of despair that amplifies your own fear and helplessness. You are forced to witness, through sound, the slow unraveling of other human beings, a grim prelude to your own eventual demise. Your body, after hours or days of torture, is a broken thing. Muscles are torn, bones are dislocated, skin is flayed, you are left bleeding, bruised, and barely conscious, a shattered remnant of your former self. You are dragged back to your cell, to the cold, damp darkness, your body racked with pain, your mind reeling from the trauma. The silence, which once tormented you, now feels like a temporary reprieve, a brief moment of peace before the next session begins. The academic debate still rages about the psychological impact of witnessing the suffering of fellow prisoners. While some scholars argue that it could foster solidarity, others highlight the potential for secondary trauma, moral injury, and a deepening sense of despair, as prisoners were forced to confront the brutal reality of their shared fate without the ability to intervene. The sounds of your own body, the gurgling of your stomach, the rasp of your breath, the constant coughing, become your new reality. You are a symphony of sickness, a testament to the brutal efficiency of the dungeon in consuming its inhabitants. You are slowly becoming one with the filth, your body breaking down, your spirit fading. As days bleed into weeks and weeks into months, the sounds of your fellow prisoners might change. A cough might grow weaker, a moan might fade into silence. You realize, with a chilling certainty, that another one has succumbed. Another life has been extinguished by the dungeon's relentless embrace. Their silence is a grim warning, a stark reminder that your own end is inevitable, merely a matter of time. The cold is relentless, seeping into your very bones. The dampness clings to your skin, making you shiver uncontrollably, your body racked with tremors. The stone walls weep with moisture, slick and cold to the touch. The floor beneath you, whether dirt or rough-hewn rock, is perpetually damp, chilling you from below. Your thin clothing offers little protection against this pervasive chill, and you try to huddle into a ball to conserve what little body heat you have. But it's a losing battle. The cold is a constant, gnawing presence, slowly draining your strength, making every movement an effort, every breath a struggle. Yet, even in the face of this grim reality, the occasional sound of a human voice, however faint or distorted, offers a fleeting comfort. It is a reminder that you are not entirely alone, that others share your terrible fate, and that even in the deepest darkness, the human spirit, however broken, can still cling to a shred of connection. This new chamber is different. The air, though still foul, is less stagnant. The walls are rough-hewn stone, but you can discern shapes: a heavy wooden table, perhaps, or strange, ominous implements hanging on the walls, their silhouettes barely visible in the flickering light. The silence, which had been your tormentor, is now replaced by the low murmur of voices, the creak of leather, and the heavy breathing of men. These are your interrogators, and their presence brings a new, chilling form of fear. It's like being dragged from solitary confinement to a job interview. But the questions are about your deepest secrets, and the interviewers have very sharp tools. And as the darkness presses in, and the cold seeps deeper into your bones, you understand, with chilling clarity, what medieval dungeons were really like, especially when you shared your misery with fellow prisoners. They were not just places of confinement, but instruments of systematic physical and psychological torment, designed to consume your body and your mind, and where the only true companionship was often found in the shared silence of despair. Your existence is a testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment, a silent scream buried deep within the cold, unforgiving stone, slowly fading into oblivion, but perhaps not entirely alone. The hope that once flickered within you, fueled by the dream of freedom or the possibility of rescue, is slowly extinguished by the relentless onslaught of disease and vermin. Your spirit, once defiant, begins to crack under the constant torment. You are becoming a broken thing, a shadow of your former self, a silent testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment. You've battled the insidious psychological warfare. Your mind, a fragile landscape of hallucinations and distorted realities. You've endured the physical decay, the constant pain, the gnawing fear of madness, and the grim solace of shared misery with fellow prisoners. Your existence has been a testament to the dungeon's brutal efficiency, a slow, agonizing consumption of your body and mind. Now, as the last vestiges of your strength fade, and the darkness presses in with an undeniable finality, you realize that your ordeal is drawing to a close. Your terrible fate in this medieval dungeon culminates not in escape, nor in a dramatic rescue, but in the ultimate release death. This inevitable end, whether by execution, disease, or the slow surrender of hope, was a common historical fact for countless prisoners in medieval dungeons. The legacy of interrogation, for those who survived it, was a lifetime of physical and psychological scars. Chronic pain, disfigurement, and profound trauma would haunt them, a constant reminder of the horrors they endured. Their confessions, often false, would live on, shaping historical narratives and condemning others. You fight not just for your life, but for your truth, a battle that often feels lost before it even begins. After what feels like an eternity of suffering, a new sound, distinct and chilling, penetrates the oppressive silence of your pit. It's the heavy, rhythmic thud of footsteps, not the indifferent shuffle of a jailer bringing meager rations, but the purposeful tread of multiple men, the clanking of keys, the creak of heavy hinges, and the grating sound of the stone slab above you being moved, all signal a change. A finality that sends a jolt of both terror and strange relief through your emaciated body. You strain to listen, your heart, already weak, pounding a frantic rhythm against your ribs. You know, instinctively, that this is it. And as the darkness presses in, and the cold seeps deeper into your bones, you understand, with chilling clarity, what medieval dungeons were really like, especially when the unseen killers of disease and vermin became your constant companions. They were not just places of confinement, but instruments of slow, agonizing death, designed to consume your body and your mind through the relentless assault of filth, infection, and the pervasive presence of unseen tormentors. Your existence is a testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment, a silent scream buried deep within the cold, unforgiving stone, slowly fading into oblivion. A blinding, searing torchlight descends, illuminating your pit with a harsh, merciless glare. You flinch, your eyes, accustomed to absolute darkness, burning with pain. Rough hands reach down, seizing your emaciated limbs, pulling you from the filth and dampness of your cell. Your body, a mass of aches and sores, protests with every movement, but you are too weak to resist. You are dragged, or perhaps carried, from the pit into a corridor that, though still cold and damp, feels vast and open after your long confinement. It's like being woken from a nightmare, only to realize the nightmare is still very much real, and it's coming for you. The interrogators watch impassively, their faces cold, their eyes unblinking. They observe your reactions, listen to your screams, and note every sign of your breaking will. They ask the same questions again and again, their voices calm, almost soothing, a chilling contrast to the agony you are enduring. They promise an end to the pain, a release from the torment, if only you confess, if only you give them the answers they seek. The temptation to simply say what they want, to make the pain stop, is almost unbearable. Your captors, the jailers and perhaps a few armed guards, are grim-faced, their expressions devoid of emotion. They do not speak, their silence adding to the chilling solemnity of the moment. You are led through dimly lit passages, past other cells from which you might hear the faint moans or desperate whispers of your fellow prisoners. Their suffering is a grim mirror of your own, a final, shared testament to the brutal reality of this place. You might catch a fleeting glimpse of another gaunt face, sunken eyes staring back at you, a silent acknowledgement of your shared fate. You've battled the unseen killers of disease and vermin, your body a canvas of sores, and your mind a battleground of itching torment. You felt your life force slowly draining away, a grim testament to the dungeon's brutal efficiency. But even as your physical form deteriorates, your captors introduce a new, more insidious form of torment, one that targets the very core of your being, psychological warfare. In this medieval dungeon, the absence of light, the profound silence, and the relentless fear are not just side effects of confinement. They are deliberate instruments designed to erode your sanity, to break your will, and to turn your own mind against you. This systematic use of sensory deprivation and psychological manipulation was a common historical fact in medieval prisons, aimed at extracting confessions or simply crushing the prisoner's spirit. The air in the corridors, though still foul, feels different, less stagnant than the air in your pit. You might catch a faint scent of fresh air, a tantalizing whiff of the outside world, a cruel reminder of the life you are about to lose. Your body, though weak, feels a strange surge of adrenaline, a final, desperate clinging to life, even as your mind accepts the inevitable, and as the darkness presses in, and the cold seeps deeper into your bones. You understand, with chilling clarity, what medieval dungeons were really like, especially when you faced interrogation. They were not just places of confinement, but instruments of systematic torment, designed to break your body and your mind, to extract secrets, and to crush your spirit. Your existence is a testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment, a silent scream buried deep within the cold, unforgiving stone, slowly fading into oblivion. A common historical fact is that medieval executions were often public spectacles, serving as a deterrent and a demonstration of the lord's or king's power. Prisoners were frequently led through the castle or even the town before their execution, making their final moments a grim performance for the populace. You lie in the absolute darkness, your eyes aching from their futile attempts to discern any shape. The silence is profound, a heavy, oppressive blanket that smothers every sound, even the rhythmic drip of water that once maddened you. Your body is a mass of aches and pains, a constant reminder of the chains and the recent interrogation. But now, the greatest torment comes from within. Your mind, starved of external stimulation, begins to turn on itself, creating its own terrifying reality. It's like being trapped in your own head, but your head is a haunted house, and the ghosts are your deepest fears. The destination is clear. You are being led to your execution. Perhaps it is a gallows in the castle courtyard, or a block for beheading, or a pyre for burning, depending on your alleged crime and your status. The thought of it fills you with a primal terror, a desperate longing for just one more breath, one more moment of life. You might try to plead, to beg for mercy, but your voice is hoarse, your words meaningless against the hardened resolve of your captors. A common historical fact is that torture was widely accepted as a legitimate means of interrogation in medieval legal systems, particularly for those accused of serious crimes like treason or heresy. The belief was that truth could be extracted through pain, and a confession, even if coerced, was considered strong evidence. A little-known detail about medieval executions is that they were often preceded by a confession, even if coerced through torture. The public confession was considered crucial for both the spiritual salvation of the condemned and for the legitimacy of the execution in the eyes of the populace. Prisoners were often pressured to confess their sins and crimes publicly before their death. At first, it's subtle. You might hear faint whispers, disembodied voices that seem to come from nowhere, speaking in a language you don't understand, or calling your name in a distorted echo. You strain to listen, desperate for any human sound, but the whispers fade, replaced by the maddening silence. Then they return, more insistent, more menacing, playing on your fears, hinting at betrayals, at the suffering of your loved ones, at the futility of your resistance. You know, logically, that they are not real, but in the oppressive darkness, the line between reality and hallucination begins to blur, as you are led towards the light, towards the open sky. Your eyes slowly begin to adjust. You see the gray stone walls of the castle, the distant trees, perhaps even a patch of blue sky. The sight is overwhelming, a sudden, brutal reintroduction to a world you thought you had forgotten. The sounds of the outside world, the chirping of birds, the distant murmur of voices, the rustle of wind, are a symphony of life that you are about to leave behind. You've endured the unspeakable agony of interrogation. Your body a broken testament to the relentless pursuit of your captor's truth. You've been dragged back to the suffocating darkness of your cell, your mind reeling from the physical and psychological torment. But even as your wounds ache and your spirit struggles to recover, you realize that the most insidious enemies in this medieval dungeon are not the guards, nor the torturers, but the unseen killers that thrive in the filth, dampness, and despair of your confinement, disease, and vermin. Your ordeal is far from over. It has merely shifted from direct infliction to a slow, agonizing consumption by the very environment around you. This constant battle against disease and vermin was a common historical fact for medieval prisoners, often leading to their demise long before any formal execution. The academic debate still rages about the precise methods of execution used in medieval times and their variations across different regions and for different crimes. While hanging and beheading were common, scholars also document various forms of agonizing and prolonged deaths, often designed to maximize suffering and public spectacle. The darkness itself becomes a living entity. You might see flickering lights, grotesque figures dancing in the void, or the distorted faces of your captors, their expressions mocking and cruel. These visual hallucinations are vivid, terrifyingly real, and you flinch, try to turn away, but there is nowhere to hide. Your eyes, desperate for input, cling to these phantom images, even as they fill you with dread. The lack of any external reference point means your brain struggles to make sense of its surroundings, inventing its own terrifying landscape. Your body, already broken, feels the final surge of fear, a last desperate clinging to life. You might feel a profound sense of injustice, of anger at the arbitrary cruelty of your fate. Or perhaps, after so much suffering, you feel a strange sense of peace, a quiet resignation, a longing for the torment to finally end. The line between life and death blurs as your spirit, weary from its long ordeal, prepares for its final release. The psychological warfare is as potent as the physical torment. They might use sensory deprivation, keeping you in darkness and silence for days, then suddenly exposing you to blinding light and relentless questioning. They might use sleep deprivation, preventing you from resting, blurring the lines between waking and dreaming, making you vulnerable to suggestion. They might threaten your family, your loved ones, promising harm to them if you do not cooperate. A torment that cuts deeper than any physical pain. It's like being in a really intense escape room. But the puzzles are designed to break your spirit, and the only way out is to admit to something you didn't do. If your death is by disease, it is a more quiet, insidious end. You lie in your cell, your body ravaged by fever, by dysentery, by infection. Your breath grows shallow, your heart slows, and the darkness, which has been your constant companion, now seems to welcome you, drawing you into a deeper, more profound sleep from which there is no waking. Your journey ends not with a public spectacle, but quietly, anonymously, in the squalid confines of your dungeon cell. Your body slowly consumed by the very filth and despair that defined your imprisonment. Time ceases to exist in this sensory void, without light, without any external cues. Days bleed into nights, hours into weeks. You lose all track of the passage of time, your internal clock completely unraveling. This disorientation is profound, leaving you in a state of perpetual confusion. A waking nightmare where every moment feels the same, yet endlessly stretches into an agonizing eternity. You might try to count, to mark the days on the cold stone, but the numbers blur, the effort becomes too great, and you surrender to the timeless void. It's like being stuck in a loading screen that never ends, but the loading screen is your own slow descent into madness, and there's no way to press skip. The silence that follows your death, whether by execution or disease, is profound. For your captors, it is merely the end of another problem, the disposal of another body. For your fellow prisoners, if they hear of it, it is a grim warning, a stark reminder that their own end is inevitable, merely a matter of time. Your existence, in death as in life, is largely forgotten by the wider society. Another anonymous casualty of the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment. You lie on the cold, damp floor, your body a mass of aches and raw sores from the chains and the recent interrogation. The air, already thick with the stench of human waste and decay, now feels heavier, more oppressive. You try to breathe shallowly, but every inhale brings the foulness into your lungs, a chilling reminder of the putrid environment. Your wounds, left untended, quickly begin to fester, turning angry red, then purple, pus oozing from their raw edges. The pain is a dull throb, a constant companion that never leaves you. And you know, instinctively, that infection is setting in. It's like recovering from major surgery in a dumpster. But the dumpster is also your bedroom. And there are no doctors, just rats. Your body, once life has departed, might be unceremoniously buried in an unmarked grave outside the castle walls, or perhaps even left to rot in the pit if you were truly forgotten. There are no elaborate funerals, no grand tombs, no public mourning. Your existence, in death as in life, is largely invisible to the grand narrative of the powerful, a silent testament to the countless lives consumed by the medieval dungeon. Sleep offers no true escape. Your dreams are vivid, terrifying nightmares that blend seamlessly with your waking hallucinations. You relive the moments of your capture, the agony of interrogation, the faces of your loved ones. You dream of escape, of freedom, only to wake with a jolt, back in the suffocating darkness of your pit, the reality of your captivity crashing down on you with renewed force. The line between sleep and wakefulness blurs, leaving you in a constant state of exhaustion and mental torment. The legacy of the medieval dungeon, then, is not one of glory or heroism, but of profound suffering, of dehumanization, and of a relentless battle against despair. your life, however short and brutal, serves as a chilling reminder of the dark side of medieval power, the absolute authority wielded by lords and kings, and the terrible fate that awaited those who fell into their grasp. You fought, not with swords or shields, but with your very will to survive, your sanity and your humanity, against a system designed to strip you of everything. The questioning begins. It is relentless, repetitive, and often confusing. They ask about your alleged crimes, about your co-conspirators, about the secrets of your lord or your faction. They demand names, dates, locations, details you may not know, or details you are determined to keep hidden. Their voices are calm, almost conversational at times, but the underlying threat is palpable, a chilling promise of what will happen if you do not cooperate. And as the darkness presses in, and the cold seeps deeper into your bones, you understand, with chilling clarity, what medieval dungeons were really like. They were not just places of confinement, but instruments of systematic physical and psychological torment, designed to consume your body and your mind, and where the only true companionship was often found in the shared silence of despair. Your existence is a testament to the brutal efficiency of medieval imprisonment, a silent scream buried deep within the cold, unforgiving stone, slowly fading into oblivion, but perhaps not entirely alone. Well, that's our journey through what it was like to be in a medieval dungeon, from the immediate confinement, the onslaught on the senses, the isolation in the dungeons, to the tortures of hunger, chains, and brutal interrogations. We've seen how disease and insects eat away at the body, and how psychological warfare erodes the mind. Your captors, the jailers, understand the power of psychological warfare. They might manipulate the delivery of your meager rations, making them even more irregular, further disrupting your sense of time and increasing your anxiety. They might occasionally open the hatch above, allowing a brief, blinding flash of light to sear your eyes, only to close it again, plunging you back into absolute darkness, amplifying the disorientation. They might even whisper false news, tales of your family's capture, your lord's defeat, or the collapse of your cause, designed to crush any remaining hope. You've experienced the horrors of confinement, the loss of dignity, and the constant battle to keep your spirit up. Finally, death comes as a release, an end to a terrible fate. Hopefully, this story has given you a deeper, more realistic insight into what it really meant to be imprisoned in those dungeons, beyond the often romanticized images, the darkness, which once felt like a suffocating blanket, now seems to conceal a teeming, unseen world. You hear the constant, frantic scuttling of tiny claws on the stone floor, the faint squeaking and gnawing sounds that echo in the confined space. These are the rats, your unwelcome cellmates, drawn by the filth, the meager food scraps, and perhaps the scent of your own weakening body. You feel their presence, a chilling awareness that they are moving around you, perhaps even over you as you sleep. Their cold, whiskered bodies a horrifying sensation in the impenetrable black. You try to scare them away, to make noise, to flail your aching limbs, but they are relentless, boldened by your weakness and their own hunger. Now, as the images of cold stone walls, echoing groans, and deep loneliness fade into the night, let your mind rest. Let the sounds of this story blend into your sleep, bringing you peace and quiet. It is late at night. A common historical fact is that medieval prisoners, particularly those of high status, were often held in conditions of extreme isolation, not just to prevent escape, but to break their will. This psychological pressure was considered just as effective, if not more so, than physical torture in extracting confessions or forcing compliance. The academic debate still rages about the effectiveness of torture in extracting reliable confessions. While contemporary legal systems believed it was effective, modern scholarship largely agrees that torture often produces false confessions, as individuals will say anything to make the pain stop, regardless of the truth. However, in the medieval context, the goal was often simply a confession, which served as legal proof, regardless of its accuracy.